Hey, I'm Jen Kearns, and in this very first video, I wanted to introduce you to me and to what's going on with my life right now, because I am about to double down on my lifestyle change efforts in order to maximize my brain health. So, I've decided that instead of delaying and delaying like I've been doing for the past year or two, wanting to learn how to make a proper video, how to get the right sound, how to use editing software, all of those things, the perfect is the enemy of the good. So here I am making this amateur video to finally just get it out there, because I think it's really important as I am beginning this process of working on improving my brain health and really focusing on Alzheimer's prevention in my own life. I think that bringing you along for the ride and telling you what I'm going through as I'm going through it can only be helpful. Hopefully it'll be helpful to someone else, to you, if you're interested in brain health or preventing Alzheimer's disease in yourself, or just interested in weight loss. A lot of what I'm doing has to do with weight management. I'm hopeful that this can be helpful. So in this first video, I just wanted to tell you who I am and where I'm coming from and what's going on. So I am a 47-year-old physician, and most of my life has been focused on worrying about my weight. I was morbidly obese as a kid and teenager, and at my highest, I weighed about 300 pounds in college. And then I went straight from college to medical school, and during my first 2 years of med school, I lost about 150 pounds doing Weight Watchers. And that was back in the day before Weight Watchers had even invented their point system. So it was quite a while ago. I also started exercising regularly, which, started with walking, and then I incorporated my first jog of one city block into my walk, and then proceeded to sort of increase my running from there until I became a runner. And I was able to maintain that weight loss for a year or two, but really it was primarily by using willpower that I just controlled what I ate. I still really wanted to use sweets as comfort and as pleasure in my life, which is what they had always been. And also to help buffer negative emotions, especially stress and, anything. I mean, I would use food for anything. So as you might imagine, residency is quite stressful, medical residency. I spent 3 years doing internal medicine, and it was before there were any work hour restrictions for residents. So I was working more than 80 hours a week on a routine basis, on call every third night, often not sleeping for the whole night, or sleeping 1 or 2 hours maybe. And it was just a really stressful time, and I used food to feel better. So I regained some of my weight then, and I did a year as chief resident, and then my then fiance and I moved across the country from DC to San Diego at the end of my chief year. And a few years later, we married. And less than 2 years later, we divorced. So that period in my life, leaving my hometown where I was comfortable, moving to a new city, starting a new job at a new university, I was at UCSD, being in a marriage to someone whom I really should never have married, and the trials and tribulations of sort of the end of that relationship, I easily regained all of my weight. And that just so happened to be the time when the reality show The Biggest Loser was on TV. And they were holding an open casting call in San Diego. So I, on a whim, showed up at a casting call and somehow managed to get myself cast as a contestant on season 3 of The Biggest Loser. It was an interesting season in that there were 50 contestants instead of the usual, 14 or so. And one person representing each state in the United States. I was the representative for the state of Virginia. And during that season, I was one of the 36 people who had to just go home and lose the weight basically on our own. We were given a calorie restricted, a calorie goal basically for the day. So mine was, I think, 1310. And we were supposed to work out twice a day. And I did. And I lost 108 pounds in about 8 months during the filming of that show. And then I had the great pleasure of moving to Los Angeles at the end and joining the practice of Dr. Robert Huizenga, who was the show's doctor. I helped him out in his practice in Beverly Hills, and I was also one of the physicians for the show, for The Biggest Loser, for the 2 subsequent seasons, seasons 4 and 5. It was an amazing time. And, you know, at the end of that year, Dr. H asked me to stay, and I would have had to buy into his practice and would have settled down in Los Angeles permanently as a part of this practice. And it just wasn't for me. I felt really out of place, like a fish out of water in Los Angeles. I didn't have friends and family there, so I felt somewhat isolated. The only people that I knew were friends from the industry, from the entertainment industry, from the show. And it just didn't feel like the right place for me to be forever. So I ran. I had a panic attack and I ran instead of staying. And I came back home to DC. So I've been here in DC in the area for 13 years now. And I, of course, because my own personal struggle is clearly with weight, I trained in internal medicine, but I eventually got board certified by the American Board of Obesity Medicine. And I have been gradually over the years doing more and more weight management medicine and a little bit less of the inpatient internal medicine stuff as a doctor. And then in the past 6 months, today is officially my certification day. So I'm now officially certified by the Life Coach School as well as a life and weight loss coach. And I think that was the little missing piece that I really needed to help me figure out how to help myself and others really implement the lifestyle changes that I already knew about, right? As a doctor, I had all the knowledge I needed, and especially as an obesity specialist, to know what I should eat and how I should move and things that I should do to improve my weight. And yet actually implementing those changes in the moment when you really want to eat that ice cream because you're really upset about something that happened, it goes beyond just knowing that you shouldn't eat the ice cream, right? It takes a lot of like awareness and understanding how your thoughts and feelings sort of create the results in your life. And anyway, really everything in my life and career, as I said, has been mostly focused on weight management, and that's still certainly my area of expertise. But my mom, Tracy, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. She was diagnosed officially at the age of 67, but I noticed changes in her memory beginning in her 50s. So she was quite young. And she's still living. She lives with my brother and my sister-in-law, who are taking amazing care of her. But she has a really strong family history of Alzheimer's disease. Several of her siblings are affected by dementia. Her dad died with dementia, and I'm told by one of my uncles that all of his siblings also were affected. So I very clearly have a strong family history of Alzheimer's. And I moved my mom in with us at the time my son was 2. And she lived with us for a year or 2 before she moved in with my brother because she needed 24-hour supervision, and we weren't able to provide that for her because both my husband and I were working. But when she moved in with us, it really brought home the disease to me. I saw how much more she was struggling. She couldn't do her activities of, living that most people would do, like banking and grocery shopping and things like that. I had to do for her. She was still relatively independent in that she could feed herself and toilet herself. But by the end of the time that she spent with us, I was helping her shower and doing some of those basic self-care tasks. And it was really hard seeing her deteriorate and kind of losing my mom. I felt like her body was still with us, but by the time she left our home, that was a year ago now that she moved out, she didn't know who I was. She knew my name, but she didn't understand that I was her daughter. And that was really sad for me, to lose my mom, my mommy, even as she stood before me, So it just, and me having a 2-year-old, he's now 4. My son is 4 and I'm 47. So I feel really driven now. I never really was that dedicated to it before, and now it feels so important to me to really take this seriously and do everything that I can in my power to improve my own brain health and to preserve my mind for as long as I can. A good proportion of Alzheimer's disease is preventable, according to the scientific research. Maybe up to 1/3 of cases. I very well may be destined to have Alzheimer's disease, and maybe I can't prevent it, but certainly I can at least delay it and give myself more years of loving my son and watching him grow up. So I'm at this sort of precipice right now where I really don't have symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. I would not be surprised if I actually already have it in the preclinical stages, meaning it's very possible that I could have amyloid in my brain right now, and it's just that I'm still functioning normally and I just haven't developed symptoms yet, because it's been shown that the changes start to happen in people's brains several decades before they develop memory trouble or symptoms. And so knowing that this is really, really important to me now, I managed to get on the waiting list and finally get an appointment at the Alzheimer's Prevention Clinic at Cornell, which is run by Dr. Richard Isaacson, who is basically my hero. He's the foremost Alzheimer's prevention expert in the United States, probably in the world. And I just feel so blessed to be able to have gotten an appointment at Cornell. So I'm going to be traveling up to Manhattan for the day on June 8th is my appointment. And today is April 5th, so we're only a few months away. And in the meantime, I've been tasked with getting a whole bunch of testing done in anticipation of that first appointment. One of the tests is an MRI of my brain with volumetrics, meaning the MRI can measure the actual size of different areas in my brain, including the hippocampus, which is the memory center. I'm doing that MRI this Friday, just a few days from now. And I'm terrified. I'm terrified of finding out that indeed I actually do have signs of Alzheimer's in the preclinical stages. There's a lot of blood testing that I need to get done. There's a body composition scan, which I just did. Dr. Isaacson says that, being at an ideal body weight is really important as one of the Alzheimer's prevention sort of facets. And he said that ideally your body fat would be 26% or lower, certainly under 27%. And I went and got a body scan that he recommended called the InBody 770, which told me that at the moment I'm 28.9% body fat. So I may have lost 150 pounds, but that's not enough, folks. So now, you know, I've been kicking around this goal of getting down to 135 pounds, which is my dream goal weight. Right now, I'm about 20 pounds heavier than that. And if you've seen my blog at all on my website, you'll know that I've been talking for a year now of getting down to that goal. And I would start to lose some weight, and then I would eat some sweets again, or, you know, eat sugar and regain it. And I've been waffling up and down over the past year or so between, I don't know, 146 and as high as 160. And I really want to get those last 20 pounds off now, because it feels so much more important to me now, because I have this really important why, like that overarching meaning for why I want to get my weight down, and why I'm committed to these lifestyle changes that I need to do to get there. So here I am. This is me. I'm just starting this journey, and I hope that me coming back periodically and updating you with what's going on with my test results and the different changes that I'm making and the things that I'm doing in my own life to help me preserve my mind as long as I can might be helpful to you. And I look forward to it. I hope that you'll leave a comment for me if you have questions or anything that you'd like for me to touch on in the future. I'll be, you know, happy to try and create videos for you that can help with those questions or help explain where I'm at. And certainly, of course, please find me on social media. It's at Dr. Jen Kearns, DrJenKerns. That's also my website, drjenkearns.com, where my blog is currently housed. And gosh, please just wish me luck. I'm going through a lot of emotion these days, as you might imagine, especially feeling a bit terrified with some of these test results that I'll be getting back in the next few months, with information about my own brain health and the current state of my body. And I'm also really exhilarated, because I feel like it's just such a privilege for me to be able to go to Cornell and see Dr. Isaacson and have their expertise at the Alzheimer's Prevention Clinic looking at me specifically as a patient and my numbers and my labs and my body, and telling me the types of lifestyle changes that I can make to help improve my chances. So terrified and exhilarated all at once. So with that, I'll leave you, and it's been a pleasure, and I look forward to coming back and sharing with you more.